My name is Daniel Moore. I am 16 years old. This story began on March 12, 2023. That was the day I learned about a young Saudi prince who was arrested after being accused of burning the Quran and turning to Christianity. From that single moment, his life of comfort ended, and a road of fear, pain, and deep suffering began. I did not meet him in a palace. I met his story through people who risked their own safety to speak about him. They told me what happened to him in hidden places, with quiet voices and worried eyes. They revealed to me how fast a life can fall apart when faith becomes a crime. The prince was not an old man. He was only a few years older than me. He came from one of the most powerful families in his country. His father was a respected royal figure. His mother came from a wealthy and educated family. From childhood, servants prepared his food, guards protected his steps, and teachers came to the palace to teach him. He studied in private schools inside Saudi Arabia and later continued his education with special tutors from other countries. He learned politics, history, religion, and leadership. Everyone around him expected him to grow into power, wealth, and honor. His life was full of things many people dream about: large rooms, expensive clothes, fast cars, and a future already planned. But his heart did not feel full. People close to him showed me how he often stayed alone, reading and thinking, while others enjoyed parties. Over time, he became curious about Christianity. Through secret online lessons and quiet meetings, he learned about Jesus. This decision became the beginning of his suffering. When the accusation came, it spread like fire. Guards entered his home. His title could not protect him. His family could not stop it. He was taken away without time to prepare. From that day, his life changed into something dark. He was placed in a small room with cold walls and no window. The light stayed on all night, so he could not sleep well. Food was given late or not at all on some days. He was kept alone so his mind would grow weak. People in authority visited him again and again. They told him his faith was shameful. They told him his choice had dishonored his bloodline. They told him death was waiting. Some days he was taken out, blindfolded, and led through long halls just to confuse and scare him. Other days he heard the cries of other prisoners and the heavy sound of metal doors closing. He was not beaten in ways that leave blood for the eyes to see, but his spirit was attacked every day. They mocked his belief. They threatened his family. They promised pain if he did not deny Jesus. He grew thin, his hands shook, his voice became weak. People who saw him later told me his eyes no longer looked like the eyes of a prince. They looked like the eyes of a tired child trapped in a grown man's body. And yet, even in that place, he did not give up his faith. This is where his story truly begins. When I learned he had been moved from the prison cell to a court building, my chest felt tight. People who were close to the case showed me how it happened. They revealed that he was taken early in the morning. His hands were tied. His head was covered. He was placed in a dark vehicle with no window. The road was long. No one explained where he was going. When he arrived, the blindfold was removed. He was standing inside a large room with high walls and hard floors. Guards stood everywhere. Their faces were empty, like stone. No friends, no family, no one to speak for him. He stood alone. People involved later told me he looked very small in that room, even though he was a prince. They showed me how the trial was not made to find truth, it was made to end his voice. They presented papers, they listed his crime, they spoke about the Quran, they spoke about betrayal, they spoke about death like it was a simple thing. He was not allowed to defend himself. He was not allowed to explain his faith. He was treated like something broken that must be thrown away. After a short time, the decision was made: execution. When he was taken back to prison, his legs were weak. 2 guards had to support him as he walked. That night, he did not sleep. People who saw him in the cell next door told me he sat on the cold floor with his back on the wall. His knees were pulled close to his chest. His hands shook without stopping. The room was small. No bed, no blanket, only cold concrete. The light stayed on. Every sound became loud. Footsteps, keys, doors. Each sound felt like the end. Days passed, then weeks. His food became less, sometimes only dry bread, sometimes dirty water. He grew thinner. His clothes became loose on his body. Guards visited often. They showed him papers to sign. They promised freedom if he denied his faith. They showed him pictures of his family to scare him. They told him his father would suffer because of him. They told him his name would be erased. They told him he would be forgotten like dust. One man who cleaned the prison later revealed to me that the prince sometimes pressed his face against the wall at night, trying to hide his tears so others would not hear him crying. Another worker showed me how his hands were full of small wounds from being tied again and again. His mind was also attacked. They kept him alone for many days. No voice, no human touch, only silence and fear. Silence became louder than noise. Fear became heavier than chains. He started to talk to himself quietly, just to remember what his own voice sounded like. Some nights he believed he would not see the sun again. Some mornings he wished his heart would stop beating so the waiting would end. But he did not give up his faith. Even when his body became weak, even when hope became thin like air. This was the place where pain tried to turn him into nothing. And this was the place where something greater was preparing to happen. This was the kind of night he faced, when tomorrow already had a name, and that name was death. I learned about that night from a prison worker who later escaped the country. He showed me the path they walked. He revealed to me how silence followed the prince like a shadow. The guards came for him after sunset. They did not shout. They did not hurry. They moved slowly, like people who already knew the ending. They took him from his cell and placed him in another room, smaller and darker. This room had no window at all. The air was thick. Breathing felt hard. They told him this was his last night. Then they left. The door closed. The sound of the lock was loud. He was alone. He sat on the floor with his back against the wall. His body was weak. His stomach hurt from hunger. His head felt heavy from many days without real sleep. He believed this was the end of his story. People who later cleaned that room showed me how there were marks on the wall where his fingers had pressed many times, as if he was holding the stone to keep from falling apart. Time moved slowly. Every second felt long. His fear did not come like fire. It came like cold water, covering him little by little, until even his thoughts felt frozen. He remembered his mother. He remembered his father. He remembered the palace. He remembered how easy life once was. Now, everything was gone. In that deep darkness, something happened. He later revealed to those who helped him escape that the room did not change, but he did. He showed them how his heart became quiet, not from giving up, but from feeling something new. He felt a presence, not like a guard, not like a judge, not like an enemy. This presence brought peace into a place that had never known peace. He did not see chains anymore. He did not see walls anymore. He felt safe for the first time since his arrest. He believed Jesus was near him, not as a story, not as a lesson, but as someone real, someone alive, someone strong. His fear became smaller. His pain became lighter. His heart became steady. Later, he told helpers that he felt loved in a place built for hate. That night, he slept, not long, but deep. In the early morning, guards came back. They opened the door. They expected a broken man. They found a calm one. They tied his hands. They led him through long halls again. Footsteps, cold floors, metal doors. He walked slowly, but he did not fall. He did not beg. He did not resist. Inside, he believed something had changed, even if his eyes could not yet see how. He was taken toward the place where his life was supposed to end, but death was not waiting alone. Something else was waiting too, and this time it was stronger than fear, stronger than chains, stronger than the sentence written on paper. Some endings are not written with ink. They're written with tears, fear, and a small light that refuses to die even inside deep darkness. What happened next still feels too heavy for my chest when I remember it. I followed his story through people who risked everything to help him. Step by step, they showed me how a man marked for death walked into the morning sun without knowing if he would ever see night again. They revealed to me that he was taken to an open yard behind the prison walls. The ground was dry, the air was hot. Soldiers stood in lines, papers were held in their hands. He stood between two guards. His body was weak, his face was thin, his clothes hung loose like they belonged to someone else. But his eyes were different. People who were there later told me his eyes were calm, like a lake that had stopped shaking after a storm. He was told to wait. Minutes passed. The sun climbed higher. Sweat ran down his face. Dust touched his feet. His heart beat fast, but his spirit did not fall. Then something strange happened. A man in uniform arrived in a hurry. He spoke to the officers. Papers were checked again. Faces changed. The guards who held him became nervous. No one touched him. No order was given. Time stretched. Confusion filled the place. Later, a helper who worked in the office revealed to me that powerful voices had suddenly spoken from inside the royal family. Not to save his fate, but to hide shame from the world. They did not want the blood of a prince to become a loud story outside the country. His execution was stopped, not canceled forever, but delayed. That delay became the door to his escape. He was taken back to prison, but something had changed. He was moved to a different cell, not kinder, just quieter. People who brought his food told me he was watched closely, but not beaten anymore. Fear still lived with him, but hope had entered too. Weeks later, something dangerous and kind happened. A prison worker who secretly followed Jesus chose to help him. This man showed him hidden paths inside the building. He revealed to him the time guards changed shifts. He slowly passed small items to him, simple clothes, food, and a map drawn on old paper. One night, during heavy rain, the power went out in part of the prison. Doors were opened for only a short time. Steps were taken slowly. Breath was held tight. The prince walked through darkness, not as royalty, but as a hunted man. He crawled through dirt. He cut his hand on wire. He hid in trash. He crossed dry land with no water until his lips cracked. Every sound made his heart jump. Every shadow looked like death, but he kept moving. Days later, he crossed the border with help from strangers who did not know his real name. When I finally learned where he was no longer a prince. He was thin. He was tired. He was free. He lived in hiding. He could not use his old name. He could not call his family. He could not return home. He lost his country. He lost his money. He lost his past, but he kept his faith. He told helpers that prison took his comfort, but it gave him courage. He told them pain tried to erase him, but Jesus rebuilt him inside. Now he lives quietly, serving others who are also broken by hate and fear. And I, Daniel, carry his story so the world will know faith can cost everything, but it can also save everything. A word to my brothers and sisters around the world. As I end this story, my heart asks something from you. Please pray for those who are beaten, rejected, locked away, and hunted because they follow Jesus. Pray for children who hide their Bibles. Pray for parents who lose their homes. Pray for prisoners who sleep on cold floors. They are not forgotten. And if you are reading this and you feel your heart is heavy because of sin, fear, or distance from God, you can turn to Him today. You can pray in a simple way like this: Lord Jesus, I know I have done wrong things. I believe you died and rose again for me. Please forgive me. Wash my heart clean. Come into my life and make me new. I choose to follow you from today. Amen. You are not alone. Your story is not finished, and light is stronger than darkness.